So we, under the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, will allocate $6 billion of the $27 billion fund to a number of hub nonprofits who will then disperse those funds to community lenders. Community lenders play a particularly special role in our financing system here in this country. They are typically the backbone of access to capital for smaller communities, for small businesses, for low-income and disadvantaged communities. By providing this capital to those hub nonprofits and ultimately to those institutions, we hope to expand the access of capital that those communities have to invest in climate and clean technology projects. We know those projects typically save those households and those communities money. Those are the folks who are typically the most energy burdened. So we felt like putting the capital where the people are is a great way to make sure that we deliver benefits to those communities that are most in need. It's a great question. Making sure that these funds have their intended impact is an incredibly important goal. These are taxpayer funds, and we need to have accountability and transparency around them. I think a couple things we've done. One is at the start of this process, we took an intentional act to send out a request for information to communities across the country to ask them how we should administer these funds. And so the first step in making sure the funds get to the right places is make sure the people in those places are weighing in on how those funds are distributed. Number two is picking the right folks to disperse these funds. Statutorily, EPA's job is to award these funds to a number of institutions, and then for those institutions to do the work. We ran an exhaustive selection evaluation process to identify a number of world-class institutions who have the track record, the sophistication, the resources, the capabilities necessary to actually administer such large public investments in the public interest. And then lastly, we have an incredibly robust reporting framework that we put in place. Actually, parts of that framework are being released publicly over the coming weeks. And folks can have the opportunity to comment. That will track everything from how are we accounting for the greenhouse gas impacts of specific types of projects to how are we accounting for the job creation impacts, or how are we accounting for the small business creation impacts of these projects, and how do we make sure that data is available for researchers, for communities, for folks in the legislative branch to ensure this program is achieving its intended impact. So I think with those three elements, we have a shot at making sure these resources get to the right places and that folks know about what's happening. I love talking about the projects. I think that's what makes this stuff real. I think a couple. One, millions of Americans across this country are spending a significant portion of their monthly income on their energy bills. They may have a furnace that doesn't work as well as it should. They may have a heating system that just draws directly electricity from the grid and doesn't use some of the latest technology. These funds will help those folks switch out those technologies for newer, higher efficiency electrified technologies that will immediately cut their energy bills. Those projects will put dollars in people's pockets on day one, and that's incredibly powerful. Two, communities across this country want access to the lowest cost electricity that's available, which is often rooftop or community-sited solar. But communities don't have access to the capital to realize the energy savings and the cost savings. So we expect to see the proliferation of residential serving solar projects all across this country. And lastly, we know a number of businesses are ready to step into the clean energy future and transition everything from their fleets to their industrial sites, to the way they actually manufacture things. And GGRF funds will be here to help those folks change out that delivery fleet to electrified vehicles, or move that warehouse facility to fully electrification, to cut its carbon impact, but also to cut the operating costs of those business and put more money into the pockets of folks who work there.